with the great range plus shield nerf of 2020 that version 1.9 did, survival has found itself to not really have a lot of green range options plus a shield, but it does still have, it has a few things. Obviously we have ice shards here, and they're not typically used as a main weapon anymore. They're typically used as a support offhand weapon, and a very, very powerful one at that. But we are going to try and make a range plus shield build work today, because we do have a few options. And obviously, the big issue with ice shards in this instance is that the damage just isn't quite there yet. We do have some things to make it a little easier. Oops, I almost messed that up. Let's just do that. We do have some things to make it a little easier, though. We have... I already got both scrolls? Jeez. That was quick. We have oil spread. We have... Oh my goodness, I didn't see that right there. But in general, when you're going to be running a range plus shield now on survival, your shield is going to become where the majority of your damage is. And that's where something like Spike Shield comes in handy, because it does a lot of damage. In this case, it spreads oil on the enemy, which is even better. And it's going to become a great just clear out tool for the entire run, basically. So, yeah, we're not going to have the insane damage that we would have with something like 1.8 heavy crossbow plus a... shield, but we can still make it work. And there are other options as well. We're going to take this. It's going to give us a get off me tool. It'll give us an oil spread, which is more important in this instance. And thankfully, we're not going to be just reliant on Ice Shard plus God parries. We'll have some other options later in the run. But as you can see, the Ice Shard still does do decent damage there. And just wait until you actually see the animation going off. You have to wait a bit longer than usual when enemies are slowed. Alright, get out of here. I was going to try and show it off, but those enemy knife throwers are just so buggy sometimes. Don't forget that you can chain parry still. So if you have a rat and a oven knight attacking you at the same time, basically, don't forget to just do that safe double tap. Get rid of all those rats. You can parry those. Try to remember that. It's very, very important when running a shield-focused build. But yeah, something like Spike Shield is going to be very good in this build, because it just is the strongest damaging shield overall. We can make it work. We're going to go through Promenade. I do think Promenade is one of the hardest maps in the game currently, but shields are really good in the map. Torque Shock is really good in the map, so I think it's a good call overall. Now for mutations, we have a few options. I actually am going to take Spite. Not a very common thing, but since shield is so ingrained into this build, and parries are so ingrained into this build, I think it might be the right call here. And as a quick little note with Spike Shield, it sometimes can be just a good full block option. Right now, I wouldn't say it is, just based on this, but don't forget that sometimes just full blocking is a viable choice. Obviously, it's not going to be ideal, but because parrying is still better. Parrying's still going to be better every time, But if you find yourself in an instance where you're scared, Spike Shield is a great full block option as well, because it will still kill everything and you won't take hardly any damage. Once I get the 60 kill here, or fail to, I will try to show off a full block with it, to show that it is a viable option sometimes, if you're worried you aren't going to be able to parry in time. There are bats over here, right? Yeah. Having that oil source is really important for something like Ice Shards, especially if it's going to be your only DPS option. Again, we did lose a ton of ranged options for survival, but there are some, obviously. And if you happen to find one in a curse chest, that's where things will get really good, or a legendary, because you can just take that and it'll be just like the good old days of... Oh, I messed that up. And while Ice Shards might be a bit boring, it still does do stuff like that very effectively. This is our other option we have. We have Boomerang, and we're actually going to take this. Works really well with the Spike Shield, because we will be able to just toss it and focus on parrying. And it's not going to mess up our parry windows like Ice Shards sometimes can. Ice Shards still is fine with it, but it can sometimes result in your death, which is not ideal. I messed that parry up. Come on. How did I not get that parry, and how did he not hit me? So yeah, you sort of just gotta take your time with it. No, let me get rid of this first. So you can do that. See, that was a much better example of it. You just toss that, and everything in the room should die with the combination of the Boomerang plus a full block. Again, I don't think it's something you necessarily want to do always, but it is viable in certain scenarios where you need that to just hold a shield. If you're surrounded by a bunch of enemies with awkward parry windows, like a slasher and a bunch of rats, for example. But, you know, if you, in general, you do want to go for the parries. They're gonna be way more important. Or not important, way more... what's the word I'm looking for? Just better. They're gonna be better. I don't want to say way more better, because that is not great grammar, but they're way more reliable. I mean, yes, they're way more reliable, but they're just way more efficient. Efficient is the word I'm looking for. For our next one, we're going to take Blind Faith. That way when we get those parries off, we can just do like a stun grenade into a couple parries into a new stun grenade, for example. Probably won't stick with the stun grenade for much longer. It starts to kind of wear off after early game. However, it's nice to have. Crusher's really good. We might end up taking that in just a minute. I would rather not mess with my parry timings here if I don't have to. This is an easy one, actually. And another easy one. Do that. This is bad. Alright, all good. Whenever you're playing a build like this, and... Ooh, this is gonna be easy. Let's just do that to make sure I get rid of it. When you're playing a build like this in a map like Prison Depths, make sure to just take your time, parry the easy parries like that. Slowly walk through. It might not be the most fun thing in the world for everyone, but it works. So, you know, you gotta kind of take and choose. You could obviously go with like a double shield, but I think having the boomerang, that was so unnecessary to go for. Oh my goodness, what? This is an example where the build does struggle a lot, and where something like that Crusher would help me, which I probably will take in just a minute. As soon as I get to the next checkpoint, I'll probably go back. One good thing about having a slower build like this is it makes it easier to notice things like that. Oh my goodness. Try not to do stuff like that. You don't want enemies to surround you with builds like these. Like, yeah, it takes a minute to handle a hammer, and an elite hammer would be really scary, which is why we will go back for... What do we got here, actually? Death Orb definitely has potential. Powerful Grenade is great. I kind of want to take that, but I think I'm just going to take the Crusher. We'll be able to use it in most interactions. And it's going to help with something like a hammer a lot. There's a legendary here. Let's see what it is. Obviously, it's going to mess with our parry timings a bit. There's a marksman bow. I would recommend taking that. Ow. Got tagged a little there, but it's okay. We are playing survival. We have sustain options. The thing about Crusher here is that it is going to mess with our parry timing a bit. Again, I would take this probably if I was doing like a serious run, but I do want to showcase off the build, so ow. This is a build you need to play a bit patient for. I probably will get rid of this Crusher. I don't want it to mess with my parry timings too much, which is important, so I'll just take that powerful grenade probably. We're going to take the powerful grenade just as a good get-off-me tool. I think we might take it over the Telluric Shock. I don't want to waste too much money, but I think I do want to upgrade that. Tonic is great. Might be worth taking, actually. Yeah, I think Tonic is actually the way to go with a build like this. I don't want to make every single survival build I do with Tonic because it's stupid, but you also need to keep in mind, you know, the strengths and weaknesses of a build. Speaking of which, this is a build you definitely want to go through Ossuary on, or just to Concierge in general, because a Boomerang is okay against Momatic and Conjunctivius, but you really want to have you just want to have a more reliable source of damage in boss fights for those, and Concierge is a very parry heavy fight, so that's where we're gonna go. Powerful Grenade is great for that. Oh wow, I messed that up. It's all good. This is where something like tonic is really nice to have. Another part where tonic is really nice to have is when you find infected food, because you can just wait for the tonic to refresh and then activate it and eat the food, and you won't take malaise. And just use our blind faith to try and get parries off. Be careful with those guys. Obviously, they do a lot of damage when they do that delayed attack. Want to have tonic pretty much always going. That way, if you take hits like that, you're fine. Probably should have left that Inquisitor alive, actually. But it's all good. There we go. Again, take this if you see it in your run, but I don't want to show off a non-natural version of the build. That was probably unnecessary of me. Finally got some more bulk in the build. Slashers have that really easy first parry, so go for that. Here's the curse. Oops. Don't want to sell that. Can you imagine if you could sell those for like a huge surplus of gold? Might be worth it sometimes to do. Alright, so we are going to go back a bit. Let's go back to the beginning, because we left some enemies around here specifically for this. Oh my goodness, there was a worm right beside me. Remember how I said play patient and be slow with this build? Follow that advice so you don't almost die to... or so you don't actually die to stuff like that. Those spawners are definitely the hardest part of this map for a build like this. So much so that I think we will avoid them if we can. Just because they can end up killing us. I thought there was a slasher up top. Oh, there was. I killed him. Not ideal. Cool. Yeah, just play careful with stuff like that. We'll go back up here and through the top. Make sure you don't get crushed by elevators when you're cursed. In general, probably don't want to get crushed by elevators, but definitely not when you're cursed. There's an elite right there. Don't want to activate that on accident. Get rid of him. And there we go. Powerful Grenade's great for stuff like that. These guys do have a bit of an annoying parry window. You have to do it like right away. It's kind of strict timing, but it's something you can't handle most per parry. And works great in this slow, methodical... Oh, I thought I had my powerful grenade up. There we go. I did see that, don't worry. Ooh, I almost messed that up. Yeah, you can do it. It's not like an insanely difficult parry, but... so as you saw, I did get hit by that crystal. Lost my 60 kill. I don't know how close I was to it. But I did, because of both Blind Faith and Spite, it put a ton of damage at that slasher. So don't be afraid to chain parry on something like that if you see it. Concierge, obviously known to be a pretty easy boss. But, you know, if you're still struggling with him, hopefully this fight will show everything you do. He's going to start with his aura on higher boss cells. So you can sort of just stay right in front of him. And he has a pretty generous parry window. If he does that, you want to get away, obviously. And you want to stay near the middle when you can. You want to leave yourself a room to get away from his aura when he does it. Like right now I'm in a little bit of danger of being hit by it, but I don't think I will. Yeah. You don't want to get too cornered on one side. Just take your time with it. It's a really easy fight to get flustered and impatient on, but you can parry those. Don't always recommend it. I'm gonna get hit. Nope. Alright. Again, take your time, and you'll be fine. Build like this works great in Concierge. Is that a makes the victim bleed infantry bow? One sec. That's pretty fun. Would like to play that. Bonus to burn oil and makes the victim bleed. Just get a flamethrower turret with bonus to bleed and oil spread. Ooh! Also would like to play that. Obviously we're trying to show off a specific type of build, so we won't mess with any of that fun stuff. I do think Stilt Village is the way to go here. Summer Sanctuary wouldn't be bad here, actually, because there's a lot of easy parry windows in that map, but Stilt Village is way easier for sure. Ow. These guys aren't hard to parry. That was just me being an idiot. Just wait for... Ooh. Just wait for the exclamation point and you'll be fine with them. These guys, obviously, stay at a distance. Oh, ow. Stay at a distance and try not to get... Just try not to panic with them. A boomerang plus that will take them out, obviously. Alright. Just take your time with it. Nice and easy. We'll pass on that. Alright, that was a little scary, but... Just be patient. Is the cornerstone of this build. Actually, I don't even need to do that. I can just kill him, because my powerful grenade was coming back. Despite the fact that we're not running the mutation counterattack, which we could run in this, definitely, but... Ow. That's where tonic is really nice to have. Again, this build, it's okay to make mistakes with. Because that's why survival exists. The more you do interactions, the more likely you are to make mistakes like that. So, don't sweat them too much. It's meant to... You know, you're not... if you're playing perfectly, you could just run a curse sword. This build is meant to be able to make mistakes. I do want to check the other shop real quick before... Oh wait, no, it was a skill shop. So it's fine. We'll just continue on. Because our powerful grenade is still killing enemies in one hit. As soon as the powerful grenade is struggling, like, to kill enemies reliably, that's when you probably want to swap it out, or... try to find a fix on it, but in general, it scales pretty decently with your stats. Don't forget, tonic plus that means you won't take melees. Don't forget, there is a curse usually pretty early on here. So save an Inquisitor like that if you can, because it gets you a free curse kill. I personally think you should explore just a little bit after you find the curse. That way you can make sure you don't get hit by a scary elite. Or just a room full of enemies that's real bad. But we see some options here. So we'll probably end up taking that curse as soon as we get back to a portal. But first we'll check this. We probably take this. Spreads oil and does a bonus to burn. So yeah, I think we just take that. No new shield. Parry shield can work. It's very good against the bosses. But for now, we're gonna just take this curse real quick. Make sure to grab that. That way, that was a really good knife dance, by the way. There we go. And just take your time. There we go. Parry the Inquisitors. Slow roll it. There is something up there. I assume this is literally nothing. And then we have this other, we'll check up top real quick. Alright. That's, again, another reason why you want to check, to make sure you have enough enemies to just kill the curse, so you don't have to deal with traps and whatnot while cursed. There we go. Again, this isn't ideal for a shield-based build. This map isn't, but it has some stuff in it that helps. These enemies are easy to parry. Dark Trackers obviously have the time and mix-up that you gotta be careful about, but they're not too bad. We're gonna go here so we can get the light. And we can continue on now. Boomerang does work on those guys pretty good, though. If you need it to. That was a crazy tick scythe. Can just parry those guys. Nice and easy kill. Don't forget that tonic also makes your roll speed faster, which is nice to have. Those guys are pretty easy to parry, but be careful with it. You don't want to get tagged by an axe. Hit the light before we continue on. Hit this light real quick. Even in a map like Sepultura that encourages moving fast, you can take your time. As long as you don't get panicked when your light starts to drain a bit. That guy really tried to take me out. Belly flopped into the abyss. What do we got here? Ooh, see? I'm glad I came here. Look at that. 29 green going into giant. That's pretty good. Pretty good. So notably, we don't have a burn, so I think I'm going to reroll on this. Like, we don't have a great burn source. We have the parry. I guess that's fine. Right? I'll try one more. Bonus of poison, that's pretty good. Because we have the tonic doing that. And we actually probably stick with this. I would probably take maybe triage in place if you're worried about the fight, but I'm not. So I'm just going to save my money. But yeah, triage would be good here. That way if you end up getting tagged pretty hard, you can just get that instant heal. The benefit of a shield in this fight is you can do that and it destroys giant. Yeah. So it's a little different from a normal giant fight where you just try and overload him with damage, but it works really well. With this, don't chain parry, otherwise you will get hit by the second wave. With the like pyramid-based one, you do want chain parry. He's gonna punch. I messed up the parry. It's all good though. He's gonna do that. So yeah, don't chain parry with this. Just do timed parries. And with the like one that's kind of like a pyramid, do chain parry with that. Again, Timekeeper's probably the right call to go here, but I don't think Giant's too bad. Yeah. It's a great way to learn the fight as well. If you're struggling with Giant a lot, something like this is a great way to practice the fight, because you're gonna have that shield to keep you safe, the tonic to keep you safe. Definitely viable for Giant, I feel. Alright, we're gonna move on to this. One of the best parts about fighting Giant is that you can skip straight to Hand the King. And I generally recommend doing that, but for this build in particular, I think it's smart to go to Distillery. And I'll explain why in a minute, but yeah, I do think Distillery is the right way to go regardless with this build. So, when you're running the range plus survival shield build, one great benefit about it is that you can go to Distillery. What the heck? Oh, it's up here. I'm gonna get hit. No, I'm not. Alright, there we go. You can go to Distillery. Oh, no. I'm gonna get hit. Alright, don't be an idiot like me. Just take your time on these ladders. Wait for that, and then jump. You can go to Distillery and get a barrel launcher. Always spawns one, so now you can always go into a barrel launcher for the end of the game. No matter how rough your gear is, you're going to get a level, was it level 10? Level 9 barrel launcher. So if you're just having a rough build, you really need to replace your boomerang, you haven't found one, or your ice shards, and you need something that's reliable, you can take the boomerang, or the barrel launcher. Obviously, if you have a good boomerang, you can still stick with that. In this instance, though, it pairs well with our giant whistle because it gives us that AoE damage of the powerful grenade back, while the giant whistle turns into our single target killer or our elite killer. So yeah, definitely worth considering. You also do get 2 bonus scrolls going to this map. You get 2 bonus off-color scrolls. That was a little scary. Again, probably still want to slow roll your build, take your time, but you know, I get being impatient sometimes. Idiot. Yeah, great for stuff like that. Ooh, that was a little close. I almost messed that up. What? Oh, it's an elite. I was like, why did that spawn? And sometimes you'll get this bonus green, which is really nice from going here. Ow. That's an instance where you probably should just save the giant whistle to do it safely. But I'm impatient. Wait for this to pass by and then break the wall. Now you can get the key safely. Don't have to worry about doing, like, trying to reflect the barrel back. So, you can also swap at the end of this, swap into like a giant killer or whatever if you want. Or a shovel. Shovel destroys Hand of the King, for example. Could go ice shards. Didn't get a shield. Unfortunate, but spike shield still does really good damage even when under leveled. I am going to stick with the boomerang. But absolutely, if you want to take if you get like a, or just if you want to take the barrel launcher, either way, if you find a really good one or want to take it, feel free to. What we can do is we can swap our tonic out now for this. So now we have a poison and a bleed source. And we will do this. So now we have a very consistent way to get damage off for our boomerang. Alright, so everything else is good. We will continue forward. And we will swap into, we'll reroll this for something like that, because it almost always has the electrocute on it, so it's not too expensive to roll for. And now we have a burn and oil going on as well, which is really nice. For this, we can probably swap it out now, try and get something better on it. Absorbs damage is nice. Probably don't want to do too much. This is fine. Like, if you can get the bonus critical hit on it, or bonus after you crit with it, that's ideal, but you don't want to go for it too much. I say I have plenty of gold, but you might not. So, for Hand of the King, we are going to stick with Blind Faith. We're going to stick with Spite. And we're going to take let's take Vengeance. Vengeance will give us that damage boost and protection. Triage is also fine here. If you do have Dead Inside unlocked, go for it, but I don't want to take that with the nerfed, quote-unquote nerf, which it really is just making it unavailable to lower level players. Where they've moved it to High Peak Castle on 4BC only. Parry what you can, if you feel confident with it. Like, you don't have to parry everything in there if you feel better with rolling. I actually do feel better with rolling, but I want to show it off. Whew, that was close. Wait for a second on that so you don't... Ow. Lost a no-hit, but it's all good. Yeah. So that's how you do that. Again, if you don't feel confident with your parries on that, feel free to just take like Triage, Vengeance, and disengage and go for roll strats with jumping around them. Alright. This is going to be spoiler content for the rest of the run, just so you know. So if you care about 5 BC only stuff, there's your warning. But yeah, hopefully this shows that like a range plus shield option still is viable in 5 BC. Obviously, it got gutted really hard, but Boomerang I think is still really good to have with something like this. Obviously, Hemorrhage is also a notable weapon, but I don't want to recommend it because it's 5 BC only. Giant Whistle is great in this map because it can just take out scary enemies. You can actually just like kind of slowly walk along the entire map, Giant Whistle on every single enemy here if you do. That's actually how I beat 5EC for the first time, basically. Almost messed that up. Don't have Tonic anymore, so that's one negative, because now biomes are going to be a little bit trickier. We also forgot to swap out for Gastronomy. Don't forget to do that. But we still have Vengeance. Vengeance is really good. We'll come back to this. Like, Vengeance will still save us in a lot of senses. And again, don't be afraid to use your potions, especially here. I know it's like if this is your first time to the map. I was scratching my head when he started flying back up. Obviously, if this is your first time to the map, you're probably scared that you won't get to the final boss with your potions, but if you die from not using potions, you also won't get to it. Wait for exclamation points on those, obviously. That parry is still so strong. Don't forget to save your money for this. This map has a lot of stuff you might want to buy in it. So, has a potion, has food, has a level 12 shop, has bombers that ruin your 60, and hopefully the bird's here. Yep. You can do that, by the way, and it'll keep the boomerang going for longer. Throw it away from them and then roll through, and your boomerang will hit them on the back. There's stuff down here, right? Yeah, I can safely go down. So now we can get out of here. I'll try and show it with this next bird, actually. Let me pull you up. So you throw it away, and then do that. This is where Vengeance is nice. If you get surrounded by stuff like that on a teleport. I honestly thought he was going to go for this sword swing. I was ready to parry it, but he didn't. There we go. You can parry these, by the way. This is a great example where if you want to, you can just slowly take out every enemy up there. That way you don't have to worry about it. Ow. This is also a great example of don't be afraid to heal. In this case, I'm going to go back and get food. Because you can't beat the game if you're dead. I'm just gonna get it from the shop. So, you know, a little tedious to have to go and reclimb the tower. Especially since I forgot to open the doors. But better to do that than just die, you know. And actually, since if you have a lot of health pots like I had in this instance, Vengeance might be better to take. Yeah, parrying those is a tricky timing, so probably don't try and do it, but it is there if you want it. Giant Whistle's great for them. There's a legendary? Yeah. Oh, legendary Tesla coil. Again, don't want to... I think I've shown the build off well. Maybe I'll take that for the final boss. Like, I think I've shown the idea behind the build at this point. Ow. Mess that up. What you want to do there is... Actually, Giant Whistle would have been the better way to do it. Is just get their attention and then drop down. And you shouldn't die. This Tesla coil is legit. But yeah, definitely, you know, in this case, the Cloud would have been just fine. I would have Poison and Burning going. Still. This Tesla coil is just kind of a get me. Plus, I ignored all the other legendaries I got today, so... I want a potential to get a no-hit here. In this instance, I would actually... So, there are two ways to go about this, depending on what you got. 3 ways to go, actually. You can go for Blind Faith. I think you take Blind Faith regardless here. Unless you don't feel comfortable doing parries. But I think you take Triage and Vengeance is one choice. Or, instead of that, you could take Vengeance and Disengage. If you have a low amount of health pots. In my case, I'm going to take Spite, though. Just to get more damage. Because I want to go for the no-hit. But, definitely, the smart way to go about it would be... Probably Vengeance plus... I would say Vengeance plus Disengage is probably ideal here. Or, if you have a lot of health pots, just take Triage and Vengeance. And again, if you have Dead Inside, take that, but... I'm trying not to run Dead Inside. That way people... don't feel like you need it to get to this point in the game. Dead Inside plus Triage would be really good as well. Alright, Collector. Let's do this. That's a really easy parry right there. Ooh, almost messed that up. He is doing so many of these freaking grenades right now. That's all good. Do that. So he's on his second health pot. Just roll when you see the exclamation point and hear the sound cue. I definitely thought I parried that.